to the 2010 All-Decade teams. They've
Yeah.
been pretty interesting to read, talk about.
Yeah,
Um,
no, let's get into that because I like I like the general team. I don't really have like massive disagreements. I could put arguments up for other players, but at the same time, I don't even know half these players, man, because I don't know any centers, man, other than the Carolina Panthers one. I don't know
yeah,
any of
I
these kind of
get you, I
players.
get you, I get you. Um, yeah, so like to me, there was a few unanimous decisions. So there was players that
Oh yeah,
whoever voted on this, they were 50 for 50 votes. They were definitely in the team. And I'm just gonna read those off there, just
absolutely.
because I
Yeah,
don't disagree with this either. So one of the unanimous decisions, I'm just gonna go through the offense first. It was Tom Brady, like we've discussed,
yeah,
greatest quarterback of all time. Adrian Peterson was
Is-
also another. He
yeah.
was phenomenal this
I think
past
that
decade.
comeback story from his injury is probably one of the greatest NFL stories there is. I really rate him. I
It is.
really
It
rate
is.
him.
He was a great player, and he still functions in a dysfunctional franchise in the Washington
Yeah,
Redskins.
he's in. Isn't he Redskins? Yes. So hopefully, he can get a ring, but he probably won't. He
Yeah,
deserves one though.
yeah. He does. He does. And then we move on to the offensive line with Joe Thomas, the former Cleveland Browns offensive tackle. He
Yeah,
was, trust me, he was actually fantastic in a terrible, terrible franchise for years and years. He was the
yeah,
only standout player for the Cleveland Browns. And then
yeah.
there was the recently retired Marshall Yonda, the offensive guard who played his entire career for the Baltimore Ravens.
Steelers. What?
Oh, you,
No,
you
no,
messed that up.
no, no. It's Marquise or something like that. Sorry, I
Yeah,
misheard you. The
Marquise
center,
Pouncey.
the center.
He's the center for
Yeah.
the Pittsburgh Steelers.
See, I told you, I just don't know enough about
Yeah,
these players.
yeah. So those were the unanimous decisions on offense, and I couldn't disagree. All fantastic
Yeah.
players in their own right. And then
hmm
we're just going to move quickly on to the defense. So we have defensive end JJ Watt, unanimous
Oh,
decision.
100%. He had to
I
be
think he's
there.
like three-time defensive player of the year, and there was
Yeah.
an MVP shout there one year, and I think he was
hmm
completely snubbed. I remember reading about it.
What year was
And
that?
I don't ask me, man. I don't know.
I'm trying to catch it real quick here. No, it doesn't say anything.
Yeah,
I was
and
going to
then there
say if it was
was
the year that Cam got MVP, then nah, he didn't get snubbed.
okay. Calm down with your Cam Newton talk. Is he on this team?
Okay.
No, he's not. But
Personality wise, he should be there.
okay. In the top 10 team of the decade personality, Cam Newton could be starting quarterback. And then we
Boom.
had Aaron Donald. Without a
I
doubt,
love him. I rate him.
yeah, he's a fantastic interior defensive lineman. And
Yeah.
then Von Miller, he
Oh,
ended the. Yeah, talk about Von Miller there, buddy.
Von Miller, he is a great linebacker, but I don't think he should be on this list just because of the fact I don't like him.
Oh, why
Like I
why
rate
don't you
him a
like him?
lot. I rate him a lot. Like he took one of the most incredible offenses. They went. What did they do? They went 15-1, didn't they? And then went
Yeah,
to
I
the
think
Super
something like
Bowl.
that.
The Panthers, obviously, exciting, awesome uh, offense, and he just shook it up and made it his own. We couldn't do anything in that Super Bowl, and the main reason is because of Von Miller. He deserves to be a unanimous
Yeah,
decision because personally, I think he's up there with the greatest linebackers of all time. By a big shout as well. Like he's not just like kind of peeking into the best linebackers of all time. He's like up there, man. Like I rate him. I rate
yeah,
him, but
he's up there. He's up
like I
there.
don't like him.
Yeah, like the image that when I think of Von Miller, the only thing I think of is him slapping the ball out of Cam Newton's hand and Cam
Yeah,
Newton not jumping on
not
the
going
ball.
for it.
Yeah, that must have broke your heart.
It did. Cause you
Oh,
know what? That was my leaving cert year, and I had a really important test in school, not the actual leaving cert.
yeah.
But this was like to decide if I was staying up in higher level or going down to lower level. And I
Uh,
stayed up to watch that. And
yeah.
I came into school the next day, massive bags under my eyes, nearly
Depressed.
about to break down and cry. And I just did not touch that exam at all. I was just like in my head thinking about that. Whoa, sap, whoa.
Yeah. And then
God damn it.
yeah, so and then one of the coaches, one of the two coaches that are included in this all decade team, was Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And Bill Belichick, the best coach of
He
all
deserves
time.
it to be in there, 100%.
He surely
Best
does.
coach of all time.
He's probably the greatest general manager of all time as well, because
Yeah.
he pretty much runs the Patriots, the greatest
Yeah,
dynasty
he
of all time.
does, man. What's interesting is I was always thinking oh, what happens if Tom Brady leaves? Like it'll still be in good hands with him.
Yeah,
What happens if he leaves? Are they going to
Patriots
become
will die.
irrelevant again? You know what I mean? Because before these two like phenomenal people to do with American football joined the Patriots, I don't think they were big at all. Like obviously I don't know anything before 2000, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.
All right, cool. So, just looking through the rest of that team, and I'm a quarterbacks guy. I love
Yeah.
the quarterback position. I love it. I love everything to do with it. It's the most interesting position to me. And I see Aaron Rodgers here, and he's the second of the two quarterbacks that are included on this team. And while I don't disagree that he should be on the team, he should. He's a
I
great...
disagree.
You disagree?
Well, yeah. I rate more people over Rodgers than
Are you
yeah.
Are you going to go on another Cam Newton spiel?
No, I'm not going to say Cam Newton deserves to be in this list because he absolutely doesn't. But I'm just saying, like Rodgers, he won one Super Bowl, and I'm not saying that Super Bowls mean that you get on this list because obviously there's players that just play their absolute talent and they come on shit teams. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Like it's one of those iffy things. I would have preferred to see Russell Wilson on it. Your guy.
That's my guy.
But yeah, that is your guy, and I'm saying Russell Wilson. I think he should have been ahead, but that could just be a personal biased opinion, man. But that's all I am.
Yeah, to me, I would have Russell Wilson on this list, on this team, because I'm incredibly biased and I love that man. But there is other arguments to be made for other quarterbacks. Like as spoken before, we talked about Drew Brees. Drew Brees is the all-time passing yardage leader and touchdown leader at this moment in time. He is the best in those categories, which is crazy. And he was not included in this list. Did you know that Drew Brees is the only quarterback to have multiple 5,000-yard seasons? Like that's crazy. Like Tom Brady's never done it.
I didn't know that.
Manning's never done it. Like it's actually crazy. And he did. I think he has 5 of those. He has 5 seasons where he's thrown for over 5,000 yards, and 4 of those seasons have come within this decade. And he won a Super Bowl within the last decade. I think it was like 2009 that he won. But yeah, he deserves a shout, and if not, the shout on this team. But Peyton Manning is there as well. He had the greatest statistical season all time for a quarterback in touchdowns and yardage. He did as much as a quarterback can do, and he also won a Super Bowl within that time as well with the Denver Broncos over your Carolina Panthers, I believe. And
thank you.
Like he threw 55
he bet our
touchdowns in that
Panthers
season.
good.
Yeah.
No, you know what? Like Peyton Manning is one of those people where I'm thinking that he had that amazing season with I can't remember who it was. Did you just say that there? The that wide receiver for the most receiving yards?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Manning is just maybe it's just because I lost against him in the final, but whatever.
Yeah.
I would put Manning on the same level as Rodgers.
Yeah, he retired early.
Especially for the 2010 decade.
He retired early. That's kind of what's, that I can see why he wasn't included, because he did retire in like 2015 or something. But Drew Brees, I was just comparing his postseason record to Aaron Rodgers' postseason record.
Yeah.
And Drew Brees is 8-8, so he's a 500 quarterback since joining New Orleans. And Aaron Rodgers is a 10-8, so he's just above 500. And like with this postseason thing, if they're gonna include that, like you can look at Joe Flacco. Like Joe Flacco, formerly of the Denver Broncos, now he was released recently enough. He's 10-5. He has a better record than the both of them. So you can't really include that. But if you like, it's all subjective and down to perception. Because if you want to include Aaron Rodgers, yeah, you can look at his passer rating, like his flashy passer rating, and touchdown to interception ratio. Like they're both fantastic. I think they're all-time great as well. But it's crazy because I was looking at the wins in this span in the decade as well. Brady leads the pack of wins, including the playoffs. He has 138. Rodgers is second up with 106. Then it's Breeze at 99, and then it's Russell Wilson at 95. But the crazy thing about Russell Wilson's wins is he was drafted in 2012, so he has 2 years less, 16 regular season games by 2 less than all these players, including the postseason as well. So he had that opportunity. If he was drafted, earlier, I'm not saying he should have been because he wasn't eligible, but it's crazy to put into perspective that he has 95 wins in the span of 8 years, while these guys only have 99 and 106 within 10 years. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, and
but that's what I mean, man. Is I disagree with Rodgers. I disagree with Rodgers being there. But again, it is to do with perspective, and like I don't know who done the list up, to be honest. But Rodgers was one of those controversial. I think the second QB was always going to be a controversial point because Tom Brady was going to smack that top one, but the second,
of course,
it should be Wilson. It really should be. And like, all respect to Rodgers, like you took over from Brett Favre, you did good.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, Wilson has just been phenomenal for a long time.
Yeah, like he is criminally underrated. But just one thing I wanted to say to you: isn't it absolutely crazy that the Green Bay Packers had Brett Favre and went to Aaron Rodgers, and they've only won 2 Super Bowls in that time?
Yeah,
isn't that insane?
It's ridiculous.
Like Tom Brady has won 3 of the last 10 Super Bowls in this decade.
Yeah,
like that's insane.
And you know what's funny? It looks like they're doing the same thing of what they did to Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Because Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers are at the same age.
It's crazy.
They drafted a new young QB.
Yeah, Jordan Love,
watch
Utah
out, Aaron
State.
Rodgers.
Like that's crazy. We'll talk about that in another episode. But that's insane.
Yeah.
Just to wrap things up there as the last point of the very first Undrafted Opinions podcast, I just wanted to talk about the coaching decision to include Pete Carroll. Now, Pete Carroll is the Seahawks head coach, and he's a great guy, great coach. But me as a Seahawks fan, I 100% have to disagree with his inclusion. Because Pete Carroll, although he is that rile the troops type of coach, he just hasn't got it done in the last couple of years. Yes, he did win that Super Bowl with Russell Wilson, but he also lost the very next one with one decision.
Yeah.
Like when the Seahawks got to the 1-yard line against the New England Patriots, there was a pass play called by Pete Carroll. He put the ball in the hands of Russell Wilson, and we all know what happened next. The Malcolm Butler interception, boom, Seahawks, whatever dynasty was coming, it's over. It's over there. Yeah. And everyone always talks about not running the ball with Marshawn Lynch. Like, if you lose the Super Bowl because Marshawn Lynch can't take the ball 1 yard, fair enough. Like, fair enough. And, I don't even put this blame too heavily on Russell Wilson's shoulders because at the time, this was his 3rd year in the league. He was still very new. Like, if you look at the quarterbacks now that are in their 3rd year, like Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, like all these guys, Baker Mayfield, like I wouldn't expect them to win a Super Bowl by themselves either. So I don't put it all on Russell Wilson. But Yeah, that's one reason why I don't think he should be included. And then just even recently enough, like he's a defensive coach, so you think like a defensive coach would have an excellent defense, but that just hasn't been the case recently. Like
Yeah.
earlier this year, in the season opener, I watched Andy Dalton absolutely tear the Seahawks defense up for like 414 yards. That's the most Andy Dalton ever threw for his entire career. And that was
Big
the
up
Cincinnati
Andy.
Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals
Oh,
were the
what's
first
wrong with
pick
Bengals, huh?
they were the first pick in the draft. Like, they were terrible this year. And you have that team absolutely tearing up your defense. Like, I just like
It's
it was good with the Legion of Boom. It was peak defense. It was as good as defense can get. But he just hasn't put up a good one since. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But who would you put instead? Like I have two people that I would throw in, but like who would you put up there with?
Like I talked about Sean Payton earlier in the podcast, and it's just his ability to scheme people open. Like you see Drew Brees with these 5,000-yard seasons, and who makes those plays? That's Sean Payton. Sean Payton draws those things up, and of course, Drew Brees is going to execute because he's a all-time great quarterback, but that's an all-time great scheme as well. Like you saw Michael Thomas this year break a single season, I think, of receptions. Like that's all scheme. That's not just Drew Brees feeding him the ball. That's Michael Thomas being open because of a scheme. Like to me, it should have been Sean Payton. But who was your pick?
Riverboat Rod.
Oh, get out of here, Riverboat Ron.
No. I'll give you my serious answer. I would honestly say, Big Red Andy Reid. I would say him. Like I'd actually give him a shout.
The Big Mormon.
Yeah. Yeah, the regular season record of 96 wins to 61 losses took the Kansas City to he had Patrick Mahomes and a great team, obviously, but he took them to the Super Bowl. He has a postseason record of 5-6, I'm pretty sure. I just think that, he's a great coach to turn around a team. And, he's just so big, man. Like, you got to give him some love. Everyone knows that there's two rules in the NFL. The bigger the coach, the better the coach.
Oh,
the bigger the head of a QB, the better the QB. There you go.
Really?
Those are just the facts.
I got to learn those rules.
Why do you think Peyton Manning's so good? His head grew like 2 inches every year.
His forehead was huge, man. Huge.
It's ridiculous.
But, just to finish up now. Just because you included Andy Reid, I read that Andy Reid, after he won the AFC Championship, they said to him, "Oh, how are you going to celebrate?" And he says,
"Burger, wasn't
it?" Yeah, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna have a cheeseburger. And the reporter goes, "What? Really?" And he goes, "Maybe two." And like